My name is Helene. I'm in the MSc Strategic Marketing program. And in the business school, they still teach us about the 4Ps.
I bet they do.
Yeah, and you were saying that the 4Ps doesn't include the customer.
Correct.
But then again, there are also the 3Cs, which does include the customer.
Oh, the 3 Cs.
Yes.
What
So
are the 3 Cs?
the customer, competition, and company.
Oh, wow. And where do they sit? Is that a separate framework?
I don't know, I'm asking you, that's my question. Is it a separate framework or does it complement?
I think the problem is, like I say, I think the real issue with the marketing mix fundamentally is that it comes from a time it was literally created in the 1950s, the first version of it. And I just don't think it's relevant because I don't think it talks to how customers want to behave or how customers do behave in this day, in this multi-channel world that we live in. Do I think the 3 Cs have a role to play? I'm sure they do. If you look at my 6 Ws and you download the report and you read it, I think you'll find that pretty much all of that is within there. There's room for lots of frameworks, and you take the frameworks and you use them as you see fit. What I've done, I'm a practicologist, so the business practicology is all about the practical execution of strategy. We deliver strategy, but we also deliver practical plans of how to implement. So when we think about how to do everything in this space and how to deliver the services we deliver for our clients, we're thinking about it practically in terms of how do you actually get from there to there. So that framework hopefully reflects how customers behave in this day and age, what their drivers are, and what retailers need to do to be relevant.
What's going to be the role of mobile in the next couple of years in relation to retail?
Good question. So I didn't have a slide up there that I sometimes have, which is, if I give you an idea at the moment, I think sales through mobile at the moment in the UK, on average across retail, are getting are about 35 to 40%. Some mature multi-channel retailers like House of Fraser and brands like that, Shoe, some of you know they're one of your clients, they're already over 50%. So there are a number of, so I think it's starting to mature. One of the videos that I do have that I didn't show as well, because I just didn't have enough time, and as you can tell, I already went over. I've got a video from Google. If anybody wants to email me, I can probably get it to you, but I've got a video from Google which, it's all about voice activation. So where I think we're going with mobile in the next generation of the iPhone and beyond and Android will be full of voice activation. At the moment we've got Siri, but how many of us really use Siri? We don't. We still pinch and scroll. And I think the problem with that is that even once you've responsively designed your mobile site, or maybe adaptively designed it, or even if you've gone down the path of a separate standalone mobile site, the reality is it's still a small browser. It's still mobile is smaller than my hand in most cases, or an iPhone 9 is probably roughly the same size. iPhone 6 is roughly the same size. And so pinching and scrolling still doesn't make it easy to buy something. Voice activation will change all of that, because then you will literally, so in this video, this couple are going camping. They've probably just met fairly recently, and the girl texts the guy and says, have you got a tent? And he talks into his phone and he says, sure. And that sends a text message back to him. Of course, he's panicking because he's like, he hasn't got a tent. He's never camped before. So then he asks his flatmate, do you have a tent, or do you know where I get a tent from? And he's like, you camping? And off he goes. So then the guy's like panicking. He sits down on his couch in his living room. He says, right, Google, I need a tent. And the projection comes up on the wall, and pretty much the whole experience is voice activated. So that's the way things are going. So I think that will be the massive driver in changing behavior even more towards mobile. But even without that, if you go 2 years down the line, if you aren't doing half of your sales through a mobile device in retail, I'd be very, very surprised. Because like I say, the mature retailers are already doing that now.
I think the other thing is for most retailers, over 50% of their traffic is coming through mobile.
Absolutely.
Even though not 50% of their sales are coming through mobile. So mobile is clearly part of the journey, and understanding the journey from one device onto another is a very important concept that is getting stronger and stronger. So
absolutely.
yeah.
Multi-channel attribution.
Yeah.
And how I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Does that help? Yeah. I think just one thing very quickly, apps is an interesting one, because I still think retailers are trying to work out what to do with apps. Retailers are generally still, a lot of retailers are diving into it without really thinking through whether or not there's actually a business case for it. I'm going to contradict myself on the money front, but I do think retailers need to talk to their customers first of all and work out what the value proposition is and whether there's enough regular engagement to merit going down the app route or not.
What is one of those industries that you think it's has a high potential if you were to start an e-commerce business? I know you particularly don't have like e-commerce stores, but you might know one of those industries that are becoming like the most promising ones. Is it fashion? Is it electronics?
From my experience, which is pretty broad across all the different industries, even to try and think of an idea or a position where I would think that it would be e-commerce. I don't know, you've gone through a massive change where you had a lot of digital products, and that's kind of come out the way as the more businesses have gone online and Amazon and along those lines. So I would probably say retail, but more instant requests. So in terms of something that is an everyday need, probably an expansion of Amazon out into everyday life, or different versions, because Amazon pretty much takes up a huge amount of space, and I do think there's an opportunity there for somebody to come along and bring it more from a daily life perspective. Does that answer your question? Is that where you're kind of going?
Well, you could do, I mean, I don't know if you're looking for an idea or you're looking for an idea for your dissertation or actually looking for a business idea, but you know, if you take a business like Rocket Internet in Germany, you know, what they did is they went around the world and they looked for, you know, business models that worked elsewhere and thought, you know, where could we recreate that? So Zalando, which is now the biggest online fashion pure play in the world, to the best of my knowledge, it's probably about 2.5 times the sales of ASOS. You know, that came about from Rocket Internet, a bunch of intelligent ex-consultants, well-educated, an investment fund that said, you know, we're going to back you, and these guys started creating online businesses. They've got Zalando, they've got Zalora, they've got the Iconic in Australia. They're all performing to different levels. They've put a lot of investment in, but what they've done is they've gone around the world and thought about what are the opportunities that we can take from other markets and launch them over here. So I'd be looking at the success factors. I'd be looking at fashion and saying, who does that best? Who does fashion best online? And it would be somebody like ASOS, or it would be Net-a-Porter, or it would be Zalando, or somebody like that. And then I'd be looking at the market in Spain and saying, you know, what does the competitive set look like within online fashion? What's customer behavior like? Do we think this is a good category to get into? Or I'd be looking at somebody like Appliances Online, who have disrupted washing machines and white goods. And I'd be looking at, well, what does that look like in our market? Do consumers still buy all those products offline? Maybe there's an opportunity to change that behavior and offer them the opportunity to buy it online and copy AO.com.
And there's a slightly different approach as well, because if you look at how lots of bloggers and vloggers are getting out there and making their own business, and it's more a personal approach, so it's not the really big brands. I do see that probably in the future down the line, we're going to have a lot more smaller personalities, which will then have their own brand built on that, and that will be finding really niche elements or niche benefits for the user. So somebody that really understands, for example, this is not the right idea, but say within fitness, somebody that is a fitness expert, perhaps it's an athlete, and might be using a specific school of thought, or using different tools or different products that they can then expand on. But I would say there's a lot of data out there based on, you know, from the process that I went through. Have a look at what people are talking about, and look at the competition. What is the data? What are the people's needs? What are their interests? And then look at social. And then once you've got that data, have a look to see if somebody's already done it. But is a great opportunity with the social channels and setting up something small that eventually can grow. And what I'm seeing at the moment is that lots of little people are starting to grow, and it's making a bit of, you know, eventually they'll be maybe as big as some of the leading brands, but it's really niche. It's not so broad and general.
I would say fashion or beauty, because if you look at the little people who do grow, there's that many. You know, we deal with a lot of clients that do a lot of different things, and there's people that you've never heard of that grow into something quite big. And for fashion, there's opportunity to do it. There's opportunity to find a niche, and there's also so many people. There's so much social. There's so much out there. There's so many. Video, YouTube stars that are prepared to put your product out there. And there's that many people engaged with it. If I was going to do something right now, you forced me into it, it'd be fashion or beauty stuff.
I think from a marketing point of view, I mean, you know, you both touched on a good point there. And it's, you know, how you tap into those more cost-effective digital marketing channels, whether that's, you know, vloggers, bloggers, or whatever. I mean, what I would say is you don't have to think of something new. That's the good news. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to come up with an entirely new business model. You can just go and look at what other people do around the world and go, do you know what? I'm in an emerging market, and I now think I can actually create the best fashion business, the best electricals business, you know, the best homewares business online in this market by pretty much copying what somebody else has done elsewhere. And now I'll go and try and raise some funds. I'll go and talk to private equity guys.
My name is Olu, and I've been in the CRM area for about 20 years. From the technology perspective, primarily using things like Siebel, Salesforce, and now Microsoft Dynamics. Recently, Microsoft started pushing something called social CRM. And basically, it's just, it's still in development stages, but they've pushed it out there. But it's using social listening and e-media to generate leads and opportunities, primarily for sales and marketing. Now, the last thing you said there was the CRM, the R bit of CRM, the relationship bit. My question, I wrote it down, let me just get this right. Do you think social media will address the relationship part of CRM moving forward, or will this still create a gap?
Well, what you just described to me, if I've understood it, is it sounds like it's more of a B2B, social CRM, in the way you described it anyway, sounds more B2B than B2C. It sounds more like a lead generator for sales and marketing. If it can be applied to the consumer space, then it'll certainly help. But really what I'm talking about is actually, what retailers tend to do is they tend to start with the technology, and that's why it often gets in the way. So they tend to start, when they're thinking about CRM, they're thinking about what sort of tools do I need for CRM. What they haven't actually thought about is how do my customers want to engage with me? If I was to have a blank bit of paper and think through, how do I take, most retailers have the Pareto effect, right? Most businesses, 80% of the sales from 20% of the customers. So if I'm only targeting a relatively small percentage of my overall customer base and I want to do that really well, what would a great relationship look like for them? There's only one way of finding out. That's getting out and talking to them. Maybe running some surveys on the site, running focus groups, and running workshops, and once you've got an idea of what that looks like, then you work back from that, and then you think about what tools, what systems, what people, and what processes do I need to deliver that strategy. But they don't start with the strategy, they start with the technology. And that's why, if you think about it today, the most you get from any retailer is a loyalty card, as a points-driven card. That's not a loyalty program. Asking me to spend more to get some kind of reward, is that really what loyalty is all about? I don't think it is. I think it might have been somewhere down the line. I think today loyalty is driven by lots of different factors. Transparency, thinking about your community, thinking about social responsibility, thinking about how you market, thinking about your staff, your colleagues, and how you engage with customers. But actually having a structured program that says, you know, this is what we want to do for you as our top customers. So I think that the technology is an enabler. If that can be applied to the consumer space, it might well make a difference, but I don't think it's going to solve it on its own.
You said that we need to choose the best keyword, but don't you think that there is no long-term advantage for choosing one keyword or sticking to particular keywords? Because the behavior says that if it has a profit, it's going to attract new companies to choose that keyword. So in a long term, because it's an auction, so the bid is going to increase and it's not going to create an advantage. So my thinking is that the company that has the best dynamic, that is the most dynamic, is going to have a long-term advantage. Only the company that can choose new keywords and be a trendsetter, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I might have misportrayed that. You don't choose one keyword. You choose a myriad of keywords. So for even a modest campaign, you might have 10,000 keywords in that campaign. So you're looking for deep keywords. With the advent of spoken search, you're looking for even deeper keywords because people ask questions. So yeah, it's absolutely, I might have misportrayed that. It's not about finding the keyword. It's about covering every keyword. And then the hard job, is balancing the statistics on every keyword on every deep keyword to maximise profit within that account. So it is about discovery of new keywords all the time. Yeah, you're right.
Also, it's got, I mean, when you gave the keyword example,
Yeah.
and you added leads, etc.,
Yeah,
it was a question of meaning and
Yeah.
context.
correct. Intention.
Exactly. And one of the things that Google themselves have said, late 2015, the Amit Singh himself said, that meaning and context has been elusive to computer science. And that is that's a big blockage. And when that general intelligence technology comes on, that will be the key disruption to all the topics that you guys are talking about.